Welcome, listeners, and thank you for joining me for the debut of MeloD Media, your technology and good vibes radio, promoting positive mental health, always reminding you to live loud and listen more. Episode 1, Away with Worry. I'm going to start things off with some friendly advice. To make this a worry-free session, give yourself a degree of separation from your surroundings. Feel free to close your eyes if you're in the library, on the bus, or laying on the couch. Silencing any sources of electronic interruption and limiting external interferences will also help to make these next few minutes as much about you as possible. It's always a blessing to immerse ourselves in the life experience of others. There's one influential human being I'm sure you're all familiar with, and no technology radio would be complete without paying homage to one of the original greats, the late Mr. Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is best known for his Apple products, but consumers may be less familiar with his professional practices. He adopted a Japanese philosophy known as Mushin no Shin, roughly translating to the mind that is no mind. This swordsman battle strategy focuses on being a responsive force by anticipating and reacting to an immediate situation. The core concept is to close off your mind to all other worldly concerns and focus all your energy on your current surroundings. Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn describes this same idea in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Don't center on your anxieties. Keep your concentration here and now where it belongs. Easier said than done, but solid advice that could prove useful in today's turbulent times. Negative emotions tend to keep people from doing some of the most incredible things. There are numerous people out there more talented than myself who sadly believe otherwise and refuse to take ownership of their own brilliance. In this first episode, I hope you all will find renewed strength and faith in yourselves to persevere and satisfy your own happiness. I'm a firm believer that happiness is not a feeling. Happiness should offer something more sustainable and concrete than the fleeting lifespan of a passing emotion. Feelings, contrary to popular belief, are not in our control. I would hate to think that our own happiness and fulfillment are beyond our own influence. It's so limiting to think of ourselves in this capacity. With how much we're bombarded by technological pressures, it can be a lot to take in. Between television, email, advertisements, and notifications all invading our personal space, audiences are entitled to a well-deserved moment's peace. That's what I'm looking to provide for you. I'm looking forward to talking with you every couple weeks, having engaging material prepared for you, and hopefully replying to thoughtful feedback from our listeners. A major cause for worry in our world today partly comes from having unrealistic expectations of ourselves. A substantial portion of my education focused on having SMART goals. It's essential to keep our expectations specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based, not only for the sake of avoiding wasteful efforts, but also because your sanity is worth the consideration. This touches on my reason for starting this periodical. Last month, I graduated from Webster University, completing my master's in communications management. Exactly 5 years ago, I finished my bachelor's with the Kansas City Art Institute. Only a month ago, this terrified me. It was paralyzing to think that 5 years later, I'm once again being thrown into the fray and navigating a chaotic job market of opportunities that seem to narrow with each passing minute. There's something to be said for the metaphor of closing doors and opening windows. 5 years ago, if you were to ask me, where do you see yourself? I had a solid plan in place to move out to Los Angeles, find work, and get married. Had everything worked out exactly as planned, I would have been miserable. Let that really sink in. Had things all gone according to plan, I would have missed out on so much. Numerous opportunities were waiting for me right in my home city of St. Louis. Though hard-earned, these were all opportunities that I had not considered to even be an option for me. This is mostly because I had refused to believe that I was worth more. Worry invests so much time and energy in outcomes that may never take place. This is not only wasteful, but terribly exhausting. So, this is where I turn things over to you. Reflect on a time when you were so heavily concentrated on a specific outcome and ended up getting more than you expected. When was a time you found you were worth more than the worry? Maybe you were worried about passing a test, and not only passed, but ended up receiving highest marks. Perhaps you interviewed for a job, but then applied for a better position that just opened up with a more preferred employer. Even if you went through a relationship that came to a troubling end, you probably later realized you weren't fully appreciated for all your efforts. Please, feel free to share your experience. I'd love to hear your story. Life has an interesting way of changing our perspective so that we can grow to expect more out of life. This is only possible once we take the limits off of our lives and do away with worry. So please, give yourself the benefit of the doubt and know that your life is still headed somewhere wonderful, whether you have every detail planned out or not. Right now is the only you can protect. Thank you once again for tuning in to this first episode of MeloD Media. I am your host, Doug MeloD, the DOUG original DJ MC, reminding you to live loud and listen more.